A few years ago, I noticed something strange about the wealthiest retirees I knew. They didn't drive the nicest cars. They weren't wearing designer brands, they weren't constantly talking about investing, and they certainly weren't trying to impress anyone. In fact, if you passed many of them on the street, you'd probably never guess they had enough money to live comfortably for the rest of their lives. Yet, while many retirees worried about inflation, market crashes, rising healthcare costs, and whether their savings would last, these people seemed remarkably calm. They weren't checking their investment accounts every hour. They weren't stressing over every headline. They weren't panicking every time the market dipped. And that made me curious. What was different about them? At first, I assumed they must have had access to better investments. Maybe they picked winning stocks. Maybe they earned unusually high incomes. Maybe they got lucky. But after years of paying attention, I realized something surprising. Their wealth wasn't built through a handful of brilliant decisions. It was built through thousands of ordinary ones. More specifically, they had become incredibly good at avoiding purchases that quietly destroy wealth. While most people focus on what to buy, wealthy retirees spend a lot of time thinking about what not to buy. And over time, those decisions compound. Today, we're counting down 7 things wealthy retirees almost never spend money on, and why avoiding them could have a bigger impact on your financial future than any investing trick you'll hear online. And stick around until number 1, because it's responsible for more financial damage than all the others combined. Let's begin. Number 7, brand new cars several years ago. I spoke with a retiree who had accumulated enough wealth that he could have purchased almost any vehicle he wanted. Luxury sedan? No problem. High-end SUV? Easy. Sports car? Without even thinking about it. Yet he drove a 12-year-old Lexus. It was clean, reliable, comfortable, and completely paid off. When I asked why he never upgraded, he smiled and said something I'll never forget. Every car I didn't buy is still working for me. That single sentence captures how wealthy retirees often think. Most people view cars emotionally. Retirees who stay wealthy tend to view them practically. The average person walks into a dealership and sees possibilities, success, achievement, status. The feeling of finally arriving. The wealthy retiree sees transportation. That's it. The problem with buying brand new vehicles isn't that they're bad. It's that they're expensive in a way most people underestimate. The moment a new vehicle leaves the dealership, a significant portion of its value disappears. Not because the engine changed, not because the seat stopped working, not because the vehicle became less useful, simply because it's no longer new. Think about that for a moment. Nothing meaningful changed, yet thousands of dollars vanished. Wealthy retirees look at that and ask a simple question: why volunteer for the loss? Many would rather purchase a vehicle that's 2 or 3 years old. Someone else absorbs the largest depreciation hit. They still get reliability. They still get safety. They still get comfort. But they keep far more of their money. And over a lifetime, those savings can become enormous. What's fascinating is that most people couldn't tell the differences anyway. A well-maintained vehicle that's a few years old often looks nearly identical to a brand new one. But the financial difference can be dramatic. The retirees who stay wealthy understand something important. The goal isn't to look rich, the goal is to be rich. And that distinction changes everything. But while new cars can quietly drain wealth, the next item on this list is even more surprising because people usually buy it for one reason: fear. Number 6. Extended warranties. Imagine you're buying a refrigerator, you've chosen the model, you've agreed to the price, everything is done. Then comes the question, would you like the protection plan? Suddenly, you're no longer thinking about the refrigerator. You're thinking about everything that could go wrong. What if it breaks? What if repairs are expensive? What if you have to replace it? The entire conversation shifts from excitement to anxiety. And that's exactly why these warranties sell so well. They aren't really selling protection. They're selling relief from uncertainty. Now, there are situations where protection makes sense. Major insurance exists for a reason: a serious accident, a house fire, a medical emergency. Those risks can be financially devastating. But wealthy retirees understand that many extended warranties operate differently. They often protect against relatively minor problems while charging surprisingly high prices. Over a lifetime, people can spend thousands of dollars protecting products that never actually fail. The warranty expires. Nothing happens. The money is gone. Then the cycle repeats with the next purchase. The retirees who remain financially comfortable often follow a different philosophy. Instead of insuring every small risk, they build financial resilience. They create emergency funds. They maintain savings. They prepare for problems rather than paying someone else to worry about them. That mindset shift is powerful because wealth isn't just about growing money. It's about reducing the number of unnecessary leaks. And speaking of expensive leaks, the next item has convinced countless homeowners to spend tens of thousands of dollars chasing something they can never quite catch. Number 5. Trendy home renovations. There was a time when everyone wanted dark granite countertops, then everyone wanted white kitchens, then open shelving, then farmhouse style. then something else. And now many of those trends already look dated. That's the problem with trends. The moment you catch them, you're already moving on. Wealthy retirees understand this better than most. They've lived through decades of changing styles. They've seen design trends come and go, and they've learned a valuable lesson. Fashion changes, function lasts. Many homeowners spend enormous amounts of money trying to keep up with whatever is currently popular. A kitchen renovation here, a bathroom remodel there, a complete redesign because social media convinced them their perfectly functional home was somehow inadequate. But wealthy retirees often ask different questions. Will this improve daily life? Will this make the home safer? Will this reduce maintenance? Will this remain useful 10 years from now? Those questions lead to very different decisions because true value isn't found in impressing visitors. It's found in improving your quality of life. Some of the wealthiest retirees live in homes they've owned for decades, not because they can't afford something else, because they understand that constantly upgrading rarely creates lasting happiness. The excitement fades, the bills remain, and before long a new trend arrives demanding even more money. The people who stay wealthy learn to step off that treadmill. They stop chasing approval. Which brings us to the next item, an entire industry built around selling approval. Number 4. Designer logos. Walk through any shopping district and you'll see it. Logos everywhere. On shirts, on shoes, on bags, on belts, on sunglasses, the message is always the same. Buy this and people will see you differently. And for a moment, it works. There's a brief feeling of status, recognition, validation. But wealthy retirees have usually learned something important. Status purchased is status rented. Sooner or later, the feeling fades. Then another purchase is needed, and another and another. It's a cycle that never truly ends. Now, this doesn't mean wealthy retirees refuse to spend money on quality. Many happily do. But they pay for craftsmanship, durability, comfort, performance, not logos, not advertising, not social approval. One retiree once told me, "The older I got, the less interested I became in impressing people I barely know." That's a powerful realization. Because many expensive purchases are driven less by personal enjoyment and more by public perception. We want others to think we're successful, sophisticated, important. But genuinely wealthy retirees often reach a point where they no longer feel that need. They're comfortable with who they are. Their confidence doesn't come from branding. And when that happens, something interesting occurs. A tremendous amount of money stops leaving their pockets. But while designer logos can be expensive, the next category can quietly cost far more over a lifetime, especially because many people mistake it for happiness. Number 3, expensive hobbies. Most people assume financial problems come from major purchases, but sometimes the real damage comes from recurring expenses. And hobbies are a perfect example because hobbies rarely cost what they appear to cost. A boat isn't just a boat, it's maintenance, storage, insurance, fuel, repairs, registration, unexpected expenses. The purchase price gets all the attention. The ongoing costs quietly do the damage. The same principle applies to countless hobbies: golf memberships, luxury collectibles, recreational vehicles, high-maintenance equipment. None of these are automatically bad. The question is whether they're delivering enough value to justify their long-term cost. Wealthy retirees tend to be intentional about this. They understand that a hobby should enrich life, not create financial stress. That's why many of them gravitate toward activities that provide multiple benefits: walking, hiking, gardening, woodworking, reading, volunteering. Activities that improve physical health, mental health, social connection, or personal fulfillment. Interestingly, some of the happiest retirees aren't spending the most money. They're spending the most time doing things they genuinely enjoy. That's a lesson worth remembering, because money should support your life, not become the reason you're constantly worried about it. And that brings us to one of the most expensive financial mistakes hiding in plain sight. A mistake so small that many people barely notice it. Number 2, percentage-based financial fees. If I told you someone was taking 1% of your money every year, you probably wouldn't be concerned. 1% sounds tiny, almost insignificant, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Because percentages become incredibly powerful when time enters the equation. Imagine a portfolio worth several $100,000. A 1% fee doesn't look threatening. But year after year, decade after decade, those fees continue taking money. Not just from your account, but from your future growth as well. Every dollar removed today loses the opportunity to compound tomorrow. And over 20 or 30 years, the difference can become enormous, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, occasionally even more. The retirees who remain wealthy understand compounding deeply. They've watched it work for them, and they know that protecting compounding is just as important as creating it. This doesn't mean financial advice lacks value. Far from it. Good advice can be incredibly valuable. The key is understanding what you're paying and whether the value justifies the cost. Because small percentages have a way of becoming very large numbers over time. And yet, despite everything we've covered so far, None of these purchases claim the top spot. Not cars, not warranties, not renovations, not logos, not hobbies, not fees. Because the greatest threat to wealth isn't found in a store, it's found in human behavior. Number one, emotional spending. This is the wealth destroyer hiding behind countless financial mistakes. Emotional spending. And the reason it's so dangerous is simple. It rarely feels like spending. It feels like solving a problem. You're stressed, so you buy something. You're bored, so you buy something. You're lonely, so you buy something. You're frustrated, so you buy something. You had a bad day. You reward yourself. You had a good day. You reward yourself. The item changes, the pattern stays the same. Modern technology has made this easier than ever. With a few taps, almost anything can appear at your door. No waiting, no friction, no time to reconsider. And that's exactly what makes emotional spending so powerful, because the purchase creates temporary relief. For a moment, you feel better, excited, distracted, rewarded, then the feeling fades, and eventually the urge returns. Wealthy retirees aren't immune to these emotions. They're human. They feel stress, anxiety, loneliness, frustration. The difference is that they've learned not to use spending as the solution. Many develop a simple habit. They pause. When something suddenly feels urgent, they wait. A day, a week, sometimes 30 days, and surprisingly often the desire disappears. The purchase that felt essential no longer seems important. That pause creates distance between emotion and action, and in that distance, better decisions become possible. Think about the purchases you regret most. Many were probably emotional, impulsive, reactionary. Now think about your best financial decisions. They were likely thoughtful, patient, intentional. That's not a coincidence. Financial success isn't only about intelligence, it's often about emotional control. Because every purchase is asking a question. Are you buying value or are you buying a feeling? The answer can shape your entire financial future. Conclusion: after years of observing wealthy retirees, one lesson became impossible to ignore. They didn't become financially secure because they were perfect. They made mistakes, bad investments, poor decisions, missed opportunities. Just like everyone else. What separated them was consistency. They consistently avoided purchases that quietly steal financial freedom. Nobody reaches 85 wishing they'd bought more designer logos. Nobody wishes they'd purchased more extended warranties. Nobody wishes they'd paid more unnecessary fees. Nobody wishes they'd spent more money trying to impress strangers. But many people wish they'd protected their freedom sooner. Because money isn't really about money. It's about options. It's about security. It's about peace of mind. It's about waking up and knowing your future belongs to you. And that's what the wealthiest retirees seem to understand better than anyone else. Not how to look rich, not how to appear successful, but how to build a life where money becomes a tool instead of a source of stress. So before your next purchase, ask yourself one simple question. Will this genuinely improve my life, or am I simply paying for a temporary feeling? The answer might be worth more than you think. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more timeless wealth building lessons. And let me know in the comments, which item on this list do you think cost people the most money over a lifetime?